friends, Chet's back with another How to Survive as a Broke Freelancer. Here's part 3. This is the glamorous stuff. This is time management. Now, this is one of those topics that's kind of hard to talk about because everybody's a little bit different when it comes to this one. And it's one of those things that I still struggle with, despite like being the one like kind of evangelizing about, oh, how this is so great, this is all you need to do. But it's a constant thing. It's a muscle that you need to stretch. It's a skill that you must perfect on your own time and in your own way, because everybody works a little bit differently, and this is probably the hardest hurdle to jump over if it's not something you're already good at. So time management. One of the things that I've really harped on throughout this series is the importance of consuming work and creating work. But of course, the issue that comes with all of that is time. It takes time to scout out good work, and it takes time to make good work. And when you're struggling with money, time is a luxury we don't really have. Like, despite you're out of work, so you're not doing anything, but for whatever reason, you feel like you have less time than before. Well, there's a reason for that, and that's you're playing catch up. You're trying to get to a place that other people already are, or to where you used to be. You're trying to make up for, what is effectively lost time. When you're out of work, you have this sense of urgency where any time that isn't spent productively feels like a waste, but you can't be productive 24 hours a day. That's just unrealistic. It's unhealthy. And you may not know how to spend that time, or you have so many things that you need to do that you don't know what to do first. And it can be so anxiety inducing and so just crushing on your soul. And when you're a creative that needs a clear mind and a focused concept in order to make anything happen, that anxiety and that nagging feeling of, oh, you're not doing enough, you're not busy enough, that can get in the way of so much. So of course, you end up losing time because you're spending so much effort aimlessly, or like you get overwhelmed and you have to take a nap, or you have nothing on your mind, so you just play some video games just so you can get some sort of inspiration, or you can clear your head a little bit. Enough of that. Let's talk time management. So I'm going to start with the method that I used when I was out of work. You don't need to ascribe to my methods, but as someone who has always struggled with time management, this is what I needed to do for myself, and it can be helpful for other people. And especially if anxiety is an issue for you, I think this will help give some structure to your day. So I personally do not suffer from any sort of anxiety disorder or anything of that ilk, but this is going to get like perhaps a little self-aggrandizing, so bear with me. I never really had much issues with like anything growing up and like going through school and stuff. I was pretty talented in most fields that I worked with, so I didn't really develop study habits. I could just pay attention in class and then ace the test. In my world history class, I got a D in the class and a 4 in the AP test, and I was the highest score in the class because the teacher didn't know how to teach, but I just knew the material just from my own studies. So that's the kind of person I was. So when it came to having to sit down and make a schedule for myself that involved studying, and making a schedule for myself that was broken down to the 10-minute, it felt really patronizing to myself. And I had to swallow a lot of ego and a lot of pride in order to just say, okay, I need these alarms, because I know that I don't like being beholden to a schedule. But the reason why I don't like being beholden to a schedule is because I know deep down that I need to be beholden to a schedule. When I was working a 9-to-5 job, as it were, it wasn't actually 9 to 5, but when I was working a full-time job, my days were structured. My days, I knew exactly what was coming on any given day. And I had no problem with working 9-10 hours a day, but it was just because I had to. It was because there was someone saying, you know, if you don't show up to this job on time, or if you try to leave early, we're going to fire you. So it wasn't until there were some stakes at hand that I could just do that. And I honestly thought that would be a struggle. When I was in school and I had to do, 8-hour days, I was like, oh man, I don't really know if I ever really want to do 8 hours of a job. Even if it's a job I like, I don't know if I can really do that. Turns out I could. No problem whatsoever. But then once that leash was gone, once I was free, well, now I'm not going to work 8 hours. Why would I do that to myself? Well, you might be in a similar situation. You might find yourself saying, well, I'm out of work. I'm just going to play video games and apply for jobs. The end. It's a nice thought. I get it. I was there. I get it. But it's not realistic, and you need to be aware of that. So what do you do as someone who hates being scheduled, hates being beholden to someone else's time, or working that long, or, all of that? You suck up and do it. That's what you do. Like, we don't really have much an option in this capitalist society. You need to make money, and this is the career that you've chosen. Okay, now what do you do to make that money? You shut up, you suck it up, and you do the work. And whatever it takes to get you there, that's what you gotta do. But here's my method. My days, I wanted to do the following. I wanted to exercise. I wanted to make sure I ate. I wanted to make sure that I was working on other things other than just my career. So in my case, it was music. I also wanted to spend plenty of time consuming art. I was looking at other people's work. I was making art, and I was applying to jobs. All of those things I needed to make sure that I was hitting those goals every single day. I wasn't exercising in the same way every day. I wasn't consuming music in the same way every day. I wasn't consuming art in the same way every day. But it was still, I know that if I have an hour dedicated to exercise every day, I'm going to spend that hour exercising in some manner. If it's lifting weights, or if it's running, or if it's yoga, or whatever, that doesn't matter. It's just, this is my exercise hour. And I'm going to respect that because I have an alarm set that says, yo, hey stupid, it's your time to exercise. And I say, okay, yeah, shut up. You don't have to call me stupid. I'm going to exercise. And I would do it. And if I didn't have that, maybe I'm not feeling it today. Maybe, there was a new patch for Dota, and I really want to play it. So we'll just do a little Dota. I don't have to exercise today. Well, with those alarms that say, yo, stupid, get out and exercise, I was much less likely to waffle on it. Not to say that I was perfect. There would still be some days where sometimes I just would be too busy with other things. But that's okay, because it's about management. It's not about control. You don't have to micromanage every little bit of your day, every little bit of your own life. But it's good to have something that will keep you beholden to yourself. And I found I had no problem with working 8 hours in a day. But when it came to, here's 8 hours of free time, please be productive, I wasn't productive. Why would I be productive? I have 8 hours of free time. Maybe I'll do a little something here and there. But I likely wasn't going... There was no way I was going to spend 8 hours actually working. right? I mean, it's rare that when you're working in an office that you're actually spending 8 hours actually working that whole time. But when you're at home alone, beholden to no one, getting paid by no one, your time is your own? Come on. Nobody has that level of discipline. And if you do, honestly, congratulations. Like, I am seriously envious of you. I'm seriously envious of you because I could never. I could never have that level of dedication or discipline. But that's great. And, you know, then if you have that level of discipline, you don't need this video. This video is for the people like me who are bad with time management. I have a feeling that most people are more in my camp than the ultra disciplined camp. And we don't like to admit it to ourselves. I certainly didn't. I thought I could get by, you know, with just kind of applying to jobs and kind of doing some stuff here and there as I wanted to. And I figured, oh, if there's a project that comes my way that I really want to do, that really inspires myself, that's what I'm going to do. But then what would happen when I was in that boat was I would work on it for an hour or two, and then I would hit a roadblock. Now, as professionals, we run into difficulties, you know, fairly often. It just happens where like, oh, this thing that I thought would be cool just ended up not being great. And in a professional setting, you just kind of have to keep going. Or you can turn to someone else and say, hey, this isn't working, and then you work it out together. But when you're by yourself, beholden to no one, and you run into a roadblock and you don't know what to do, you're probably just going to stop. You're probably just not going to get back to it. And that's why you end up with so many started projects that you didn't complete. And you have a whole portfolio full of stuff that could have been cool that never really got there. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Mrs. I started my projects, never finished them. I'm calling you out specifically. So, how did I block out my days? Well, it was really easy. I just had 1 hour of exercise in the morning. I set an alarm for 9:30. That was, hey, lazy ass, get out of bed. Because, as I mentioned, most businesses still operate on a 9 to 5 or something close to it. So you need to get up in the morning. Get up, get after it. But because I knew that I wanted to hit all these other benchmarks within my day, I still had time allocated for these other things. So at 9:45, that's when I said, okay, get to the gym. And thus I did. And I also had a shower alarm because I was working from home. I wasn't really going out places. And this is really extra true for quarantine times, or quarantimes, if you will. You gotta shower. You gotta practice personal hygiene. This is just a nice little aside for the things that you didn't think you'd get called out on, but you're getting called out on it. Stinky. So I had a shower alarm. And I knew I would take about a 5-10 minute shower because just after working out, it's just gonna be sweat. No problem. And then I had a breakfast alarm because I would often skip meals just so I could get to the rest of my day faster. And I said, no, you're going to eat breakfast. And thus I did. And while I was eating breakfast, I would scroll through Behance or, you know, any of the other design sites that I was using at the time, some of which are kind of defunct now. After that, to start my day, I worked on music. And that could mean any number of things, whether it was practicing trombone, or if it was composing my own stuff, or finding other music to inspire me. I had an hour blocked off for that because it was important to me. And I said, I need to have this as part of my life, so I'm going to make sure that it stays important to me. And then after breakfast, after working on music, then I had 2 hours dedicated to applying to jobs. Before I worked on stuff, before I figured out anything that I wanted to do artistically, I said, you gotta apply to jobs. And that was A 2-hour block feels excessive, like even to myself. But this was after I had been doing this pretty much every day. And I found that it was about an hour and a half to 2 hours that I was spending every day just on ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Monster, whatever, what have you. And I was scouring through every website that I could find that had creative work. And I was just applying to anything that I was qualified for. And even stuff that was just a little bit out of my range. I was astounded by the amount of time that it takes to apply to even just a single job. Because it's not just, oh, okay, let me just send my resume to these people. Oftentimes you gotta write a cover letter. Oftentimes you gotta, submit some other questionnaire that comes with it. So each job you apply to ends up taking 20, 30 minutes. I mean, you can get those numbers down if you really know what you're doing. Also, side note on that one, definitely copy and paste some common questions and your answers to them and your cover letter. Have that stuff ready to go. If you're typing that out every time for every employer, you're going to burn yourself out because you're doing the same thing every time and you're wasting time. Be efficient. No reason why you shouldn't have that. It's on a notepad ready to go. Keep references, keep your addresses, keep your all that. Keep that in a notepad or a sticky note, whatever, just so you can copy and paste it, because you're going to be doing this a lot. And it sucks, and I hated every minute of it, but it was necessary. So after my 2 hours or whatever of applying to jobs, then it was, let's make some magic, let's do some art. And by that time, after 4 hours of not doing art, doing other stuff that I didn't want to do, especially coming straight out of applying for jobs, I was fired up. I was ready to go. Just, okay, let me do anything that's even remotely creative, because this is so monotonous and so stupid that I just really want to work on some other stuff right now. And that fire, that thirst, that made me do much better work than if I had just done stuff as I wanted to. If I had allowed myself to just, okay, here's 8 hours, be generally productive, you're fine, you know what to do, you got this. Doesn't work. You may think it does, you may consider yourself, oh, well, I'm above that. I have the discipline of the gods. But do you really? Time yourself. If you think that you're being productive with your days, really time yourself with, okay, how much time is your window focused on Photoshop versus Chrome? How much time are you spending looking at your desktop screen versus your phone? How much time are you really spending working and being productive? You need to treat being unemployed the same way that you would treat being employed. You need to make finding work your full-time job. And it sucks, and I get it. I hated being there, but what are you gonna do? What other choice do you have? If you have other options, if you got money like that, then you're fine. But you probably wouldn't be watching this series if you were. If you weren't struggling for work, then why are you watching something that's about people who are struggling for work? Don't assume that you have the luxury of laziness. Don't assume that you have the luxury of taking on everything that you want to when you want. You need to fight for this. You need to be hungry for it, because if you aren't, someone else is. There's not an infinite number of jobs. There's not an infinite amount of money out there. So you got to fight for that little piece of the pie that you can get. Time management is one of those things that everybody works a little bit differently. I can only speak on what works for me. Keep yourself beholden to a schedule. Humans are creatures of habit, despite we tend to hate monotony, but we actually thrive in it. And it sucks, and I get it, and I've said that a lot, because I hate making schedules. But I need it. And if that's something that you need to do, I recommend trying it. You're looking for full-time work, so you should be on a full-time schedule. You should be on an 8-hour day or a 9-hour day, 10-hour day, whatever you're prepared for. Keep that up. Don't let unemployment be a vacation, because it's not. It shouldn't be a vacation. You should be hungry for work. If you're looking for work, you need to be looking for work as though you're working. Basically, it can't be a vacation. It needs to be another job. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. That's all there is for this one. So, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, quips, qualms, queries, or conundrums, leave them in the comments section below. Thanks, and I've been Chet.